Lord Jenner of Roanstone, your experience during the war as a young man, and particularly in the Nuremberg trial area, could you relate how you got started into that?
I was a war crimes investigator with the British Army of the Rhine. I did go to Nuremberg, but I had no part in the Nuremberg process. The job of the war crimes team was to catch the people and to get them to trial. And the problem was that we had a group of about 25 of us in the British zone of Germany with over 10,000 on our list, so the chances of catching them were not great. And that's why the vast majority of these criminals are lived out or still living their days without any way paying back for the murders they committed.
Are you still interested in seeing justice done by catching some if they're still alive?
Oh yes, but the chances are negligible today.
At what point in time does it make no sense to look anymore?
Oh, when there's nobody else alive to look for. Meanwhile, at least the fact that you are looking will help them not to sleep too well in their beds, I hope.
What was the process like when you went to capture or apprehend some of these criminals?
Well, you were given a sheet with the details which your bosses, the army, the war crimes people, had managed to find out. Where they lived, where they used to live, what their names were, where possible a photograph. And then they said, right, get him, or her in some cases. And we would go off. If you got too close on the trail, you'd try to bring in a second person. Because imagine I was only 18 when I was doing this job, 18, 19. And I wasn't scared in the least. I don't know why not, but we used to go around with our little gun and go and get people. But when you reckoned that you were close to a capture, then you'd have somebody with you.
How did you handle your own anger?
The strange thing was that I didn't feel angry while I was doing it. I was totally cool when I was doing that. It's not the sort of anger I felt when I went to Belsen for the first time on the second anniversary of liberation, where you stand by graves and they say, here lie 5,000 dead, and you try to work out how. And then the anger I felt when, after that, I went to the Kinderheim, the children's home, in Belsen. It was then a displaced persons camp, the only Jewish displaced persons camp in the British zone of Germany. And the people from the Jewish Relief Unit who brought me, took me there for tea, and I was completely knocked back. There was a group of, there were about 55 youngsters aged between 6 and 13, 14. And they were wearing suits made out of American Army blankets. They had nothing else, and they all spoke Yiddish, which I didn't. So they used words like ping pong, which I managed to understand, and it just completely knocked me back. And from then on, I travelled about 3 hours each way every weekend to work with these children, and then I taught in English in the school on Sundays, and changed my life totally. These were the survivors, no family. You know, they'd murdered their parents, they'd escaped. Some of them were in institutions, they were in monasteries, they were in convents, they were saved by good people. That was their lives. And it was nothing that I'd ever come across before in mine. And that's what started me on the trail, which I've been on ever since.
When you were apprehending some of these war crime criminals, did any of them ever show any remorse or any relief, the fact that they were found out?
None that I arrested. They never admitted it. In fact, I didn't talk to them anyway. I didn't want to talk to these people. I just wanted to arrest them, hand them over to justice, and hope they were hanged.
Lord Jenner, have we learned anything from this? Has society learned anything from this?
Well, I did think we'd learned a lot, but looking at some of the things that are happening now, I'm beginning to wonder whether it's going to go back again. Certainly in the Jewish world, it was not acceptable for some half-century to be openly anti-Semitic, but in many parts of the world it's becoming acceptable again. I'm not sure how much we've learned. And there have been other genocides and mass murders since, nothing quite like this. But for me, of course, it was personal because they wiped out my entire family in Lithuania and Latvia. There's not one left alive.
Listening to you tell these kinds of stories, it's amazing to me that society today does not remember.
Well, some don't remember, but most people in this world were not born when these things happened. To them, it's history, his story, not theirs. You know, it's another world. They don't identify. So I work very hard with an organisation called Holocaust Educational Trust to teach people it is. You know, it's not them, it's you. And if you don't deal with it today, it can come back tomorrow. And it's not somebody else's problem, it can be yours. And if maybe yesterday it was the Jews in Europe, and it'd be Darfur or anywhere else today. It's got to focus on it.
So it is never again, all over again.
Well, I hope so, that it will be never again.